There are so many top flight quarterbacks at the top of this draft. I don't know what's going to happen. It's crazy. It's madness. Let's talk about it right now. What up, and welcome to the Raw Fantasy Show. I am your host, Neal. I appreciate you for joining me today. It is less than an hour from the NFL draft. Well, I don't know when you're watching this, but as of this recording, it's an hour away, and I'm excited. I'm jacked up about it. I can't wait for it. Just for transparency, I am a Raider fan, so that is where my bias is leaning. Let me know in the comments who your favorite team is and who you want them to draft. Now, today, I just want to quickly talk about the three hot topics that are buzzing on my mind right now when I think about the NFL draft, which is one of my favorite times of the year as a football fan, because it's that one moment where no fan is bummed out, right? Like no fan is depressed. Now you might get depressed after the first pick your team makes, but like going into it, every team has, optimism. Everybody is hopeful, whether you're a team who won the Super Bowl, whether you're a team had damn near no wins, you're feeling good because you're feeling like your team may either fill a hole or a whole bunch of holes. And you're just, this may be for a lot of teams, or for some teams, at least those early in the draft who are going to get some of these elite quarterbacks. This is that pivotal moment potentially for your team. So one of the top topics for me, at least I think it's the number one topic for me, is where will these QBs land? We're looking at 5, maybe 6 quarterbacks in the first round of this draft. So we know Caleb Williams, he'll be a bear with the first pick. But after that, it really kind of could go any which way. The most common predictions have Caleb to the Bears, Jayden Daniels to the Commanders, and Drake Maye to the Patriots. Will a team trade up and kind of shake those mock draft predictions up? It's totally possible. It's totally, in the deck of cards for this. We've heard the Raiders have tried to do so. We've heard rumors about the Vikings potentially trying to trade up. I believe after those three, McCarthy is probably going to go in the top 12. I believe Michael Penix and Bo Nix are probably in the 20s somewhere. You never know, because the way these things pan out, it's like you see teams trade everything for a quarterback. It doesn't work out. Then you see a team take a chance on a quarterback. CJ Stroud changes the whole organization. So you never know if seeing that play out for teams is going to make them hungrier for a quarterback and take that shot, or if some are going to be a little more shy and not necessarily, jump at it in that same fashion. But again, no mock draft, no rumor, no team report that you're hearing can be trusted at this point. For example, I'll just stick with my Raiders. There are rumors that the Raiders have tried to trade up for Jayden Daniels. Many have said it's probably not likely that they get Daniels, but then they always want to, fall back onto, well, they might also draft Michael Penix if they can't get Jayden Daniels. My mind, in reality, says to me, the Raiders have Gardner Minshew. They have Aiden O'Connell, who played pretty decent last year. But in reality, the Raiders may only want Jayden Daniels. They may feel like he's the only CJ Stroud-esque quarterback in the draft. That may be where their mind's at. And if they don't get him, they may just ignore the quarterback position altogether. So I don't like to buy into the idea that a team is stuck on a particular position. I think it's more of a player thing. So I don't necessarily think that, if the Raiders or any team is out on Jayden Daniels, they're automatically going to fall back onto this other quarterback that they like a lot. I just don't really buy into that. So I don't really know. We'll see how that plays out. That's kind of what has been pushing Michael Penix up in the draft, as people think, well, whoever loses out in the top 3 quarterbacks also like Michael Penix a lot of times. And so they may take that risk, that gamble. I just don't necessarily know if they will. I'm a fan of his game, though. Don't get me wrong. If the Raiders go that route, it's pretty exciting. But after seeing what CJ Stroud did, in my opinion, turning that Texans organization around, the QB needy teams will no doubt be hoping that the quarterback they draft is that guy, is the one that will game change for them and turn their team from not that great to really good out the gate, right? So let us know in the comments, who do you think the top 5 quarterbacks are and where they will land in the 2024 NFL draft? The next big question that I've been kind of having going into this draft is, will any team at the top trade down? Now, the reason I'm thinking about this is, almost better than making that top pick of the draft or one of those top picks is the idea of trading down and getting a massive haul of players and picks. We've seen teams do this recently. Obviously, the Panthers come to mind first. They did it last year. They traded away, they traded away DJ Moore. They traded away the number 9 pick. They also traded a 2023 second rounder, a 2024 first rounder, and a 2025 second rounder. All of that so that they can get Bryce Young. In year 1, that did not play out so hot. It didn't play out well for the Panthers at all, especially considering the Bears are now going to turn around with that pick, draft Caleb Williams as their quarterback. And so it's feeling like it's going to possibly play out a lot better for them than it did for the Panthers, but we'll see. We're not going to rush to judgment on the Bryce Young situation, but it's just one of those things where the Panthers fans don't feel good right now. Panthers fans aren't exactly excited about the fact that they traded their pick this year. It's going to turn into the first pick and be Caleb Williams. But again, will a team pull that trigger? Will a team not be, deterred by that trade and being so recent in memory? We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But most likely to me, this is going to happen to a team that is, really needy of a quarterback. They feel like, hey, I seen it happen with CJ Stroud. We feel like this quarterback is similar in that mold. Let's throw everything at it and turn this organization around with the quickness. I don't know if it'll happen. I know teams are going to try. I don't know if that ask is just too much, too much to gamble, because those teams also don't want to play themselves out of the position, because a lot of those teams at the top could also use the quarterbacks. The only way this happens, in my opinion, is if, say, the Patriots, for example, are high in their, on their board with Michael Penix or Bo Nix, and they don't mind dropping down to 10 or wherever else they could be to potentially get the quarterback. It may happen in that way, but they're also okay then with missing out, because you never know who else might try to trade up and do that same exact thing and jump them. So it has to be something where either they're willing to wait on quarterback, they're comfortable with who they already have at quarterback, even though it may not be the name that, the fans are excited about. That's the only situation where I could see that. But again, if not, we'll certainly probably see some teams trade back, even if it's just those ones that drop a few spots, trade from 8 to 5, from 5 to 8, from 10 to 12. You may see some of those kind of things from 4 to 6, not big jumps, but still trade backs nonetheless. And the last thing I want to talk about, the last thing that I think could be a major shaker in the draft is, will any of the big name players, the veterans, get traded during the draft? Now, in every draft, we see picks get traded, right? They get traded around left and right, from the first round all the way down to the last round of the draft. But how about the veteran players? We've seen big name veterans move all the time during drafts. It's not exactly rare, but especially those ones who are in unhappy situations leading into the draft, whether they're, looking for a new contract, a la defensive end Trey Hendrickson, whether it's, another player whose their contract is coming up soon, they want to get a bigger contract than what the team is looking to give, or they want a longer term contract. Maybe they're just not happy at all. Brandon Aiyuk comes to mind. T. Higgins comes to mind. These are the kind of guys who I'm looking to see, I'm paying attention to. But again, maybe those teams are asking for too much. We'll see when the time comes. I don't think necessarily you're going to trade one of your top picks in the draft, like top 10 situation for like a Brandon Aiyuk, but you may a little bit later in the first round, right? If you feel like he's a better value than who you're going to get the pick, I don't think it's out of the range of possibilities at all. I think it's actually kind of likely. If any of these guys are getting traded, I think Brandon Aiyuk, fits that spot for me, but I don't know for sure. I mean, let's think about it. In terms of last year, 2023 draft, Lions drafted Jamar Gibbs and then turned around and traded DeAndre Swift, right? So these are the kind of situations that can also happen, right? Like if we see the 49ers draft a wide receiver, then Brandon Aiyuk is more expendable. I mean, he's also in a situation where it's like there's George Kittle, there's McCaffrey, there's Deebo Samuel. Like there's a lot of options there. So they don't, if they can parlay him into a better, position for the team that it's more of a need, I can understand it. Or if they're trading it just for, a young prospect that they like, I get it if they're trying to get rid of the headache, but who knows? Some of these teams are stubborn. They try to make it work. They try to fix it. They believe in, what they're doing there. And so none of these veterans may get traded, but we always tend to see some veterans get traded, even if it's later in the draft and they're not as big of a name. Sometimes, that happens most likely in situations where focus on teams with new coaches, new head coaches, new GMs, new management. Those are the teams who also may look to move veterans because they're not maybe in love with some of the players there, right? They may not necessarily, they didn't bring them in, they didn't trade for them, they didn't draft them, they didn't sign them. So they may be more quickly to say, hey, this guy doesn't really fit what we're doing here, or he doesn't really fit to the culture. Let's go ahead and move him. This team's willing to give us a third, fourth, or fourth. And that happens sometimes too. So those are the more likely situations, but we do see a lot of teams picking up fifth-year options right now leading into the draft, which is interesting. Again, my guy is Brandon Aiyuk, I think, who's most likely to get moved in this draft out of the bigger name veterans. But you guys let me know in the comments what player, doesn't matter the position, it could be any position you want, what player that's a veteran in the NFL right now do you think is most likely to get traded in the draft, or maybe who you want to. Like maybe you want Brandon Aiyuk to get traded to your team. Put it in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious what you guys think. As always, listen, you guys, I appreciate it. The subscribers have been jumping for us. The likes have been jumping. We appreciate the support. It means everything to us. We go live. We make these videos. We do it all for you guys. So hit subscribe if you're not subscribed right now. Go ahead and leave a comment again below. Join the conversation. Join the discussion. We want you to be part of the community at Rival Fantasy. Also, go to rivalfantasy.com or download the Rival Fantasy app. Play our games. We have best ball on there, challenges, which are head-to-head fantasy challenges, fantasy bingo you'll find nowhere else at all. These are the kind of games we are building for you guys and for the community. So go check it out. And there will be NFL versions of those as soon as the NFL is back in play, especially starting with best ball. So get on there, sign up, use the link in the description to take advantage of our special offer. Follow us on all social platforms, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, at Rival Fantasy. Again, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Like this video. I appreciate your support. Let us know in the comments, who do you want your favorite team to draft in the first round? Good luck in the NFL draft. Stay positive. Don't judge your team too quickly if you don't like the pick or if you're not excited about it. Try to stay optimistic. I appreciate you guys. Stay great. I'm out.